Hi, everyone. It is Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and we are live. Here's Petra Sophia. Hi, Petra. So if you guys are watching us live, go ahead and say hello. Say hello in the comments, okay? We're gonna have about an hour, and depending on questions, right? I'll hang out if you have questions. But what we're really going to be talking about tonight is, or this afternoon, wherever you are, is how to use your divine guidance to help elevate your business. And, as life would have it, I just had to do that myself. So it's not only something I teach, it's something I utilize every day in my life and my business. And I think it's really important, as we just came off of a challenge with some of you that might be joining us today. And if you missed the challenge, no worries. Actually hang out till the end, because I'll tell you how you can actually get access to all of the challenge materials. It's actually now an online course, so you can actually get that for free. But you have to stay till the end to find out about that, because I'm going to talk about that at the end. But because I really want to focus in on the concepts here for this class and how you can take your own guidance, internal guidance, and whether you work with someone like me, a channel like the Oracle, or someone different, but that they have some sort of intuitive gift and you get guidance from them. Whether you are someone who, follows your astrological chart, or, whatever that is, however you receive guidance, even, for those of you who meditate and pray regularly and take that internal guidance for yourself, this is also helpful for that. So this is for you. If you're watching right now, if you're coming on live or you're watching the replay, this is for you if you feel like you want to be able to utilize that insight that you receive and apply it to how you kind of approach your business and your work. And this is something that, I love helping my clients with. So I put out a poll. So if anybody is here from the poll, hey, thanks for voting on this, because I think that this particular class is something that will help everyone, like no matter where you're at, whether you are someone who's made, multiple six figures in your business, to someone who's just starting out. So wherever you're from, like on the spectrum of working in your business right now, this could be for you. So stick around. Feel free at the end. We'll, I'll look for questions as we go. But if I don't catch your question, don't worry, because at the end I'll really scan through for questions. And in that vein, excuse me, this is live. In that vein, if you do have a question, the best way to kind of call it out is for you to just do this. So if you put this next to your question, it will stand out in the chat log. So if you're here and you want to ask a question about anything we're talking about tonight, if you were in the challenge and you have some questions about how to apply this, don't worry. Hopefully by the end of this training, you'll understand kind of what those pieces are and how they get, connected. And you'll have everything you need to kind of move forward so that you can decide, what's next. Because I know that's kind of, okay, I've got all this great knowledge. And for those of you who really dug in and did the challenge, a special shout out to all of you that actually got all the way to day 5 and had a real revelation about what your unique life purpose is and your business sweet spot and all of that good stuff. So again, if you haven't done that and you're like, man, how come I didn't do the challenge? No worries. You can still access the information from the challenge, because I did create a course based on it that is available. And if you stay around, you can find out how you get that course for free. Or you can wait and you can buy it online for $4.97. So that's just for a later note. But for now, what I want to talk about are the things that really kind of basically 5 things that I feel are key in really why, when we have divine guidance, how we can really take advantage of it, how we can maximize that in our businesses. So again, if you have a question, you can ask it in the comments, and then we will do our best. I will do our best. I always say we because it's me and the Oracle, but we will do our best to get to your questions before we finish. And so I'm going to go through some of these. Oh, I didn't write them down here, so I might just be typing on the screen. So do hang in there with me. All right. So What I want to do is kind of do a quick overview for those of you that were on the challenge. I know that that's most of the people that have been watching this. So just for gratis, I want to give that to you guys. And also for anybody that, in the future wants to know what that course is about. So what we talked about and kind of where we're starting from, hopefully, if you've taken the course already, you've got some of this under your belt. But, we kind of covered some of, basically during that process, we covered 5 things. And this is like kind of the next level from that. So we want to start where we were. So we talked about understanding the power of your business sweet spot, discovering your core spiritual qualities, determining your most powerful current role. And that was, I thought, a really great insight and eye-opener for some people that were on the challenge. And if you do the course, you'll figure out that it's something that really can take what you're doing and give you that extra, I think the word I would use is actually it gives you some extra clarity about the impact of your specific role, right? So it's a really good piece. And then we went on to talk about maximizing your energetic investments. Huge one for me. I am and I'll talk a little bit more for a minute about how this all plays into today and what I said when I started out. Maximizing your energetic investments is such a key part of managing overwhelm. So if you're like me and most entrepreneurs, even small business owners, overwhelm can really kind of sweep in and knock you off your feet. So maximizing your energy investments is a really big piece of that. Also then unlocking the secret to your unique life purpose. And this is where we got really narrowed down to what your business sweet spot is. And so whether or not you took the challenge, which I hope you did, but if you didn't, that's okay. Whether or not you took the challenge, if you're here, I hope that you at least have a sense for yourself of what your business sweet spot is, right? Because that's going to help us with this next phase. If you don't, again, I encourage you to go check out the course. But for now, I will give you kind of a synopsis of that one particular stage so you understand. To me, what I mean by the business sweet spot really is like the place where all of your talents, your skills, and your gifts align with your unique life purpose, right? So it is like a combination of all those things together. A lot of times what you'll hear when people talk about like your business genius, one thing I found in the 25 years that I've been doing this work is that people are left, they're left with a piece missing of that formula. And that is, what is your unique life purpose? And if you saw me the other day, I did a quick video about this. I talked about the fact that many times people confuse their purpose, they confuse their passion with their purpose, right? So a purpose underlies everything else. It really is like a divine mystery that was born inside of you that only you can reveal. A divine mystery that was born inside of you that only you can reveal. No one else, right? So as you look at that, think about that. What is that divine mystery that is in your core that only you can deliver? That is your unique life purpose. We tie that then with all of those skills, experience, talents, proclivities, and we look at all of that in how you work, and that becomes that sweet spot where all those things that overlap and where that core of that good stuff happens. So once you know what that business sweet spot is, it's like, first of all, what I've found from my own clients is that just having that clarity of what that is helps them to understand, like they're standing on solid footing, right? Like, I know what I'm here to do. Awesome. Yay. That is a really big deal. It's so huge. And it can take years for a lot of people even to kind of touch the surface of that. So the techniques that I taught everybody last week in the challenge were meant to kind of like shortcuts to figure that out. We kind of work around the way our brain can kind of foul us up by putting self-sabotaging thoughts or gremlins in there. And we just broke down piece by piece until suddenly the picture became clear. Like, oh, there it is, right? I love doing that. That's part of what I do in my work as well, which is to help people to take, like, they'll always say to me, often say, I shouldn't say always, often say to me, like, that's an interesting question. And then when they answer it, what it reveals really is the answer to the bigger question. So that again is part of that divine intuition. For me, that looks like the oracle saying, ask this question in the midst of speaking with the client. Either that's one-on-one or in a group. And when the question comes through, knowing and trusting and having faith that it is the exact right question allows me then to promote the message from the oracle directly to that person, right? So it gives me that kind of through line because it attaches to something intuitively that they already know in their own heart or soul, spirit. Their own internal guidance is already looking to kind of match up with that. So first let's talk about why. Why does it matter? Why do you need to know? Why do you need to tap into guidance to be successful in business? I'm gonna tell you, you don't. You don't have to. Okay. So if you're here and you're like, I have to do this, I want to tell you, you don't have to. And if you don't, what that could look like is you end up making a lot of money, maybe, or decent money or good money, and you just keep going through the motions, right? But there's a part of you that isn't being acknowledged. There's a part of you that's not helping, and there's a part of you that's not being given its due, if you will, right? So there's so many facets of an individual and a human being. And this piece, this internal guidance system that is tapped behind all things is a tool. And not everybody thinks of it that way, right? Like some people will go like, oh, that's just woo woo, or it's, spiritual mumbo jumbo or whatever. And the reality of it is natural. It is the most fundamentally natural thing. It's a part of like your makeup. And there's also a reason for it, for us to communicate, right, on that level too, which is why people that work with guides like myself and others, there's a moment with a client when I've asked a question from the oracle to them, and I watch not just their physical reaction, but the expression of their actual face will change. There's a softening. It's a recognition of a knowingness that's always there, right? So if a client, for example, considers themselves like completely out of that range, they might just think, that's interesting because I had this other thought. And there might be people in the opposite spectrum who are very spiritually minded. And when I say something that taps into that, they light up because they totally, they're practiced in utilizing that part of themselves. So this is really like about that. Like, how do we practice using something that's ours? It's already yours. It belongs to you. It belongs to me. It belongs to all of us. It is connected. There's been many studies that have shown that we are psychically connected to each other. That on a quantum level, quantum entanglement speaks to this. That we actually do respond to each other in the world. So again, why do we want to have this? Why do we want to figure out how to use divine guidance to help elevate our business? My question back is, why wouldn't you? Aside from the fact that it is a natural part of who you are as a human being that's here on this planet, that it is an extra level of insight and awareness that can help you do what you do more easily. And so knowing how to use it is definitely the next step. Like, okay, so now I have a sense, like I said, as those of you who've done the challenge, now I have a sense of like, why, the big why, everybody talks about that, the big why. Now I have a better sense of what my why really is. And how do I make sure that I'm aligning with it on a regular basis? How do I look at the opportunities that come to me and know that they're aligned or not aligned? So as I talked about here in the presentation email, whatever you probably saw here about this, there are really a few pieces of this puzzle that I think are most important to hit on. And there's a lot more. We can go a lot deeper, right? And that's going to be a part of the opportunity to think about how you could go deeper. But for now, I want to just take the time that we have and go over some key pieces of this so that, again, you walk away today, hopefully with at least a better grasp on, okay, so now that I know this, I can do X, right? I want you to be able to do something with that information. That's very important to me. I've always been a person who's like very action oriented as a coach. And I'm like, if I give you some information, I want it to feel like it's giving you a leg up, right? It's giving you something you can build on. Because to me, success breeds success. So when we can figure out a piece of the puzzle, like many of you did with the Find Your Business Sweet Spot Challenge, it helps us to get a better vision, and it helps us to be more effective when we're looking at like next steps. So, so for today, I wanted to talk about 5 things, right? So the 5 things that we are going to be looking at in this today are really built around how to utilize. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I just got a little glitch on my computer. Hope you guys can still hear me. So activating your business sweet spot, right? So we've talked about like if you've done that either by doing the challenge, or if you have a sense for yourself of like what your real sweet spot is, awesome. But how do you activate it? How do you actually take that and implement it, right, into your practice of your day-to-day business world? So we're going to go over that. We're going to talk about implementing the insights that you have with confidence. So how do you know when you get a thought or an intuition, or someone shares what they call a download, might call a download to you? How do you implement that? Next, we're going to talk about harnessing the power of your own discernment and using that as part of the framework. And then leading with grace and empathy. Whew, that's a big one, and we don't have a ton of time. So, I'm going to touch in each of these as much as I can. And then last, the ultimate thing that I think is really under it all for any of us. Like I said, whether you are just starting out, whether you've been working in your industry for years, whether you've been making good money or not, wherever you are in that spectrum, when you reach a certain level where you're financially stable, because at the beginning, that's kind of the first thing you're thinking about. But as you grow your business and you start making multiple 6 figures or more, and your financial needs are basically met, and you've been moving into a place where you're comfortable and maybe even more than comfortable, the next stage really is like, how do you live a life of significance? And that's why having that divine guidance helps you do that even in your life and your work, right? What is your work about then at that point? So we're going to kind of start from the beginning, and we'll talk a little bit about activating your business sweet spot. So when we look at activating our business sweet spot, to me, the simplest way to consider how you do that is to ask yourself, as I look at the projects, right? So whether that's like a program that you're going to create, or, perfect example, like, as a business owner, wherever you are as a business owner, there's always like the opportunity to network and to get more sales and to go out and meet people and connect with people. So then you have to look at, if your business sweet spot, right, if you know what it is, then you can look at all of these different opportunities and say, does this align? Am I a good fit for that experience? And is that experience a good fit for me? And what we really want to do is when we activate that, we kind of use it as a key, right? We take it and nope, doesn't fit that lock. The beauty of that, of really knowing what your sweet spot is that if it doesn't fit, you don't feel bad. You don't feel guilty. You don't feel remorse. You don't have buyer's remorse or whatever, because what you get is a really clear feeling. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. A really clear feeling that this is for me or this is not for me. I am for this or I'm not for this. So that could be someone reaching out and saying to you, hey, I have this great opportunity to speak in front of thousands of people. And maybe at first, just like exposure, leverage, whatever starts popping in your head and you're thinking, oh my God, that's so great. I got to do that. And then you get there and you didn't ask the question. You didn't check in. You didn't see if it was aligned with your business sweet spot. And people are asking you questions that don't even apply to what you do. And suddenly what could have been an incredible opportunity for the right person ends up being a horrible experience for you and probably their audience, right? So we want to look at this as, like I said, as a key that you use to, as you go through your business, and whether you're building, growing, up-leveling, pivoting, all of those, it works no matter what, which is why it's like number one to talk about. Oh yeah, I'm going to put that up here. What are we talking about? Let me grab it really quickly. So that I have it. Here we go. All right, I'm going to put this on the screen. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. I like to riff, right? All right, so let me get this on the screen so you guys can, because if you guys are following along and you want to write notes, this would be the time to do it. Here we go. So what you would, like step one, right, for using your divine guidance is to activate your business sweet spot. All right. So number one, activate your business sweet spot. So where you do that is kind of everywhere, but how you do it, I think, is like the bigger piece. And, knowing that you could take this one step and make a big difference in your business, just because you'll stop, and we'll talk more about energy. You'll stop being in places that you're not meant to be, and you'll be in the places you're meant to be, meeting and talking to people that you're meant to talk to, and that they'll really get who you are. And, again, full confession, it took me a long time to admit that I was an oracle, but it really is part and parcel of who I am and what I do. And now that I've embraced that and I share that and I use that gift, people get the ultimate best that they can working with me from that. So that's number one. Okay. So if you, like I said, if you've already done the challenge, you should know that. If you don't know that and you're scratching your head right now going, uh-oh, I don't even know that. If you don't, no worries. Don't worry. I will tell you guys later about how we can actually, I can help you figure that out. Okay. So there's a couple options for that. And one of them is actually free. So just so you know. So the next one that we talked about, or we're going to talk about, number two, everyone, is implementing insights with confidence. Okay. So using your divine guidance can help you elevate your business by helping you implement insights with confidence. Now, the cool thing is this isn't just insights, right, by themselves. Again, we're kind of building one thing on the other, right? So the first thing was business sweet spot. Then we move to implement insights with confidence. The reason we do that is that once you have your business sweet spot, that becomes, like I said, like that's the very first thing. That's the very core. But we live in a world where we're working and interacting with people all over, right? So everybody else has their own business sweet spot, their own unique life purpose, all those things. So how do we integrate? How do we take what's for us and leave the rest, as they say? And some of you might know where that's from. That's all good. But so if you're doing that, excuse me, I need a sip of water. If you're doing that, then the next layer is to say, as I'm moving into this whatever project program, opportunity, speaking gig, whatever it is, partnership with a JV. How can I receive the guidance, right? So get the insights, get guidance from those people I trust, and know whether or not it's for me, whether or not it's the right guidance for me. Now, this is where I want to talk about something I call like the universal mind. There's a lot you can go figure out. We do not have time today to go into that. But if you want to go look up universal mind, and it could take you down a rabbit hole. So I'm just going to kind of talk about this one piece of it, which is that the theory goes this way, that there is a mind, a function of knowing, consciousness, that we all tap into. And I'll leave that there. There's like more to that, but I'm just saying for this example that we all tap into. So in other words, we are all connected to like consider it a mainframe, like the internet, right? The interweb. And so we all can go on there and ask a question, right? We can go like, hey, where can I buy red shoes, right? So there's a part of this theory of that universal mind or source that says that every individual is connected to it and can access it, which then also means, if we follow that theory, that everyone you meet is connected to the same source and thereby could provide you the answer to the question you put into that source. Okay. I feel like I need a whiteboard to show this. Do I have a whiteboard on here? Because that would be very helpful. Share screen, add notes, add media. I don't think I want to go out there. All right. So bear with me then, because I don't think I can whiteboard on here, but I want to just share this. So if you imagine that you meet Joe, and Joe's walking down the street, and you have been thinking about how to do something, right? So you have some question that you've been pondering, and maybe you haven't even told anyone about it, but you have been just like ruminating, thinking about it. And you're like, man, I wish I could figure this out. And then you bump into Joe, and maybe you know each other a little bit, maybe not, maybe just acquaintances. But, Joe asked the question, lots of people ask, hey, Sally, what are you up to? And you say, oh, I've been wondering about how to get my dog from California to New York when I go travel. And I'm not really sure. And then Joe says, oh my God, I was just reading an article about this company that will drive your dog to you across the state so it doesn't have to go on an airplane. Because it takes a bunch of dogs. So it's less expensive than taking an airplane. Now, Joe found that information. He wasn't necessarily looking for that information. But suddenly he had an answer to a problem that you had that he didn't even know you had a question about, and you didn't even know he was reading about. To me, that's an example of tapping into universal source and or mind, right? So the next piece of this is, okay, remember what we said with number one. So the next piece of this is, here's some insight that came to you. Here's some information, right? And you're like, oh my God, that's perfect. It must be meant to be because it's so, coincidental or whatever. And yet, this is where I always say, like, in this idea of like, how do we use divine guidance? We also have to check back in to step number one. How does this align with your unique life purpose? And in regards to like business, we're talking about business, your business sweet spot, right? So in that capsule, we get to balance the insights. The reason this matters is because how many people are there on the planet? And if anybody out there wants to go Google, you can put it in the comments. But the point is, tons and tons of people, right? Obviously. So you never know how that input is going to come in. And because it's coming in through the filter, of other human beings, there has to be a part of you that can judge it, recognize it as aligned, and then be confident about implementing it, right? So that's how you figure that piece out, right? So being able to be confident when you implement some insight that you receive, and step 3 we're going to talk about, and you let go of the ones that you do not feel aligned with, and that's okay. Okay. All right. So that's 2. Implement insights with confidence. Okay. Insights come in all kinds of forms, right? So we want to be able to implement insights with confidence. Now, next, Next, we are going to, this moves us right into the next piece. It's as if we planned this. And right into the next piece where we are going to talk about this, because this would basically be what happens next. All right. So next, this is where we harness the power of your discernment. So we've taken that suggestion. I feel like, can we take this example all the way to the end? We'll see. Let's try. All right. So let's say this is regarding to your business. Okay. So let's say for some reason you're a dog trainer. There you go. That's your business. And that's why you have to get your dog from California to New York for some big show or some convention or something or other. And so now we've had Joe, and he's telling you that he has a solution, right? He's like, oh my God, just the other day I saw this article and this company that takes these dogs and then moves them across country for you. And you're like, that's aligned with what I'm trying to do, which is get my message out to the other side of the continent about like my methods and how it's better for dogs and how it's more humane. Okay. So taking the dog on the plane in this example, in this person's estimation, was not humane. Okay. So we're going to go there. So we have an insight that came in, and it mostly felt like it was aligned. This next piece is, again, that harnessing down, that's narrowing and allowing you to really use divine guidance on your behalf. Okay. And that is to harness the power of your own discernment. So we go back to the ULP, which is like the cornerstone of the core of your purpose, which is, if you've done the challenge, you'll know you have like those 3 words we talk about. And they're tied into basically your spiritual qualities, right? So let's say, in our example, that Joe gets you the information and you're like, okay, cool. So Sally goes off, not you, let's say Sally. Okay, you're Sally now. Okay. So Joe gives you the information and you go off and you get on the internet and you like check it out, and you're looking at the website and you're reading all the information about how they managed to do this, what's different, what's good, what's better about doing it this way than taking the dog on the airplane. And as you're reading, there are words that are triggering you. Okay, they're not aligned. They might say, we sedate the dogs. Okay, by the way, if anybody's listening to this is not a thing. Like, I'm making this up right now, so please don't. I love dogs. My husband's a dog trainer, so just so you know. Okay, so they say that in there. In their list of things that they do. I'm trying to think of things that would be like purposeful, but maybe not aligned, right? So they sedate the dogs. Let's say they muzzle the dogs, and you're like, that doesn't really work for me. So when we use our own discernment, even though like it's almost there, right? Like, so we don't just go jumping off and take Joe's answer and run with it. You have to look at yourself and say, am I okay? Does this align with my ULP? Does this align with my core spiritual qualities? If it does not, then it doesn't matter if it's cheaper, smarter, whatever. If your friend Jeanette's doing it, it's not okay for you. And what will happen if we don't use our own discernment, like the risk of that, is that we pay the price. Energetically, we pay the price. We worry, we self-sabotage, we can fall into, a depressive state, feeling like we're guilty about it. So it never, okay, maybe not never, never is a very long time. It rarely ever works out when we don't listen to our own inner discernment. So it is fundamental when we talk about using divine guidance in your business to always take it, if it's coming from someone else, and balance it against that internal guidance system. Okay. Again, ULP, business sweet spot, all those things, the core spiritual values, using that as the filter and looking for inner discernment and going kind of no matter what with that over the others. Okay. So that brings us to number 3. And this, yeah, here we go. So this piece I think is fun because I think this is the time where I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on right now and how this applies. So make sure this is visible. There we go. So the next one, 4, is to lead with grace and empathy. Now, I love that when I work with the Oracle, I can share a message with someone that's really challenging, right? It might push their buttons. It might even frustrate them that I'm being that like pinpointed with what I'm saying. And because I believe in the other things we just talked about, right? Because I believe that we are all here to activate our own business sweet spot. I believe that we have to implement the insights with confidence. And I also know that we need to harness the power of our own discernment. I do that for myself, and I hold that vision for my clients. And that's why, for me, this next piece of leading with grace and empathy is talking about a grace that says it's okay, right? So if we can give our insight and receive of insight from a place of accepting that it's okay that you didn't know this before, right? Because sometimes we get something like, why didn't I know this? Why am I still here? Right? Does it sound like anybody? Like, why am I still doing this? How come I'm still dealing with this? Why do I keep hitting this upper limit? Why does this wall keep appearing? Why can't I move past this? Because I know so much more is possible. So the idea that where you are going, somehow your past betrays that, that's the piece where it's like we have to have grace. We have to have empathy for ourselves and for each other that we didn't know until we knew. And so sometimes when we have access to divine guidance, whether that's our own and we're starting to develop that piece, or we are working with someone who has guidance that's being delivered to us, that we don't have to beat ourselves up for not knowing this yesterday or last year or the 5 times before, right? I want to share a quick story, and I'm actually going to read it so I can get all the details correct. So just know that. Because I think this is where, to me, really understanding how to take advantage of divine guidance can make a huge difference. Okay. So recently my client Scott had reached out. He wanted to share that he showed up to say, like, he had made over $680,000 in 1 hour on stage, right? World-class speaker. Had helped clients crush the revenue goals. He's counted the world's greatest thought. He's counted the world's greatest thought leader, Jack Canfield, among one of his friends. right? So he's really doing well in his life. And from all outside appearances, everything's a-okay. Everything's great. And still, when he came to speak with me, he found himself like he wasn't really fulfilling his purpose. And he just like, it's like, I'm looking at all these pieces and it feels like it should make sense, right? So after a brief call, we started looking at some of the things that he had been doing, all great things, by the way, and how he was acknowledging that, how he was seeing it. And so despite, like I said, all of his incredible skills, his experience, he'd been doing this for years. He felt like, this is what he said, this is his quote, I think my listener is broken. And it still gives me chills to just hear that, because a part of my heart goes out to him and people like him who are feeling like, I don't get it. Like, why can't I make this work? Everything looks like it should be working, but there's just something that's not really doing it. And he went on to explain that, he was making money and there were still several big decisions he'd made that had cost him huge amounts of money and time, right? Because he wasn't clear. And that was like, he, even knowing that, like, he looks back and says, I wasn't clear, right? And so just by giving him permission to really get that clarity piece was key, in that once he got clear, he would be able to make those decisions from a discernment level that was aligned. And part of that came to a place where we when we were talking, that, because when we are stuck in that place, here's the risk. When we're stuck in that place and it's just us, okay? Like, I have a coach. I have people that I count on, because I can get too close to my own stuff. Everyone can. So it's not about like having all the answers all the time. I like to say, I know everything I need to know when I need to know it. And some of the times the thing I need to know is when it's time to get help, right? It's time for me to get support. That's something I know when I know it. So it's really important that when we are in that kind of spinning phase where we think we're doing everything right, it looks from the outside like it should be working, but it's not. It's clearly not. And you don't feel aligned, or like Scott said, you feel like your listener's blocking. You're like, you're not getting any really clear insight. Hey, please do with me, breathe and relax, and know, as I explained to Scott, it's not broken. It's not broken. You might have the volume turned all the way down, but it's not broken. Like, it's like I said before, we are naturally born to tap into that message system all the time. We don't always do it, but we are created to do it. And sometimes we do need help. We need someone else. And as I said, remember, could be Joe, who has the message that's like, perfect. Why didn't I think of that? This is where we go with grace and empathy. Okay. So there's the adage, don't kick someone when they're down, right? So I can use this grace and empathy, and so can you, to take the messages we receive and use them without feeling like we are beating ourselves up, right? So I'd given him a suggestion based on the things he had already told me. Like, this was his information. He was putting it all out there. And I was like, boom, right here, here's the solution. And within days, it all turned around. And he's in the middle of doing an amazing project right now. And it was just one question, but it was the question that needed to be asked. And it was given from the Oracle to him with like no qualms, but also from a place of like, look, you've got everything. Like, the point of this isn't to beat someone up or yourself up. It's to say, look, no, from a place of giving yourself grace, that you got wherever you are right now, right? So if you're watching this and thinking, how do I do this? How do I use this guidance? That's where you need to be right now, right? To understand what the purpose of this is, to have a knowing that it is possible to receive guidance and use it for yourself and your business. and to have empathy, right? So, for example, going back to good old Joe and the dogs, if you see that the things that they're listing aren't aligned for whatever reason, right? The thing I would recommend is not to go back and yell at Joe. It's okay. Joe helped as much as Joe could with the knowledge Joe had at the moment. Take that one in. We can only provide from a place where we are when we are there, the knowledge we have at the moment. And as we continue to grow and we strengthen our muscle to tap in, we get better and better and better at doing that. And we don't have to beat ourselves or anyone else up because we didn't get there yet or faster, right? So that's the other piece. Like, have some grace, have some empathy when you are utilizing divine guidance, because the other piece of that can look like dates. Dates can get kind of really dicey. I always recognize for myself when I work with the Oracle that the esoteric calendar is not our human calendar. And so I do my very best to acknowledge that and say, I see this happening in like the near future, several years from now, happened in the past, rather than specific dates, for a couple of reasons. People can get really hung up on waiting till that day to make any move and not be part of the process. And that just mucks things up worse. And I think that's like, can play in self-sabotage at lots of levels for people just to wait until a specific time or date in the future when they think something's going to happen. So I always say, like, have some grace and empathy with that too. Like, if it doesn't happen today, but it happens 2 days from now and it still happens, can you have the grace with the guidance that you receive to go, oh, okay, it still happened. Maybe it was a day off. Maybe it was from a different person, right? Like, but the results were the same. So that's another part of it. Like, when you're using divine guidance, I would definitely recommend to like hold those things softly, and more importantly, look at the core of what's being provided, whether it's a contact or a next step, like to just dive in and be really hardened about like how it has to be, typically isn't going to work. So you definitely want to be able to say, okay, so I'm going to head this direction. We're going to hold this idea. We're going to hold this concept. We're going to create something here with this. And then we're going to move forward towards this vision we have. That's a lot more graceful. And it's also tapping into the empathy of there's other people involved sometimes, and things have to get kind of reworked. And that's where a story that I'll share right now has happened in my own life. My family, we're a small little family. There's the three of us. And so, we have a really great gel. We have a really great system. And so we really hold certain things sacred, like our time together, who's with my son and who's not, and what's happening with all of that. So I get opportunities all the time to go places and do things. And I do travel a lot. But I also tap in first and say, am I traveling this month? Like, where am I needed? Where am I going to get the most for my family, for me, for my lifestyle? What's the best fit? And I always use this system myself. I say, is it aligned? Does it give me the opportunity to go and be present as my whole self in this, whatever this, opportunity is? Or am I just taking energy away and depleting something that is really one of my core spiritual qualities? That is a no-go for me, just so you know. Like, that to me is like, if it's going to deplete from that ULP, it's not happening. So it's really helpful to just kind of look at that. And you can get kind of bummed out sometimes if something happens and you're like, oh, I really wanted to do that. And if you tap back in, you say, and I don't think it would have worked out. So you can relax and let that go. And I think when we do that more, we tend to face less overwhelm. I know for myself, I do. And I know for clients, it kind of like, oh, it feels better. Like I'm not feeling like I have to do all the things. So yeah, definitely. All right. And the last thing I wanted to share today, in regards to these 5 pieces right here, I'm going to put this one up, is where this leads us to. And ultimately, like I said, I think this is where, and I know from the Oracle, as far as like my own mission with my work, this is where we're all going. Bottom line, this is where we're all going. No one comes in here, right, going off into the world without this in mind: to live a life of significance, to make a difference, to give their gifts and their talents to their best of their ability, to be happy and free and loved, right? Like that's it. Like I use the term all the time with my clients. I say, like, if I could wave a magic wand, this is it. Like, this is the magic wand moment, right? When you're like, oh my God, like I can wake up grateful. I can go to bed grateful. And in between, I get to show up and be on purpose. And that's why, this is so important to me that people understand this, and why I wanted to do this master class was this system of using divine guidance walks you straight from one to the other. And when you get to this end, like I don't call it the end, I guess, you get to this phase, then you get to give back in a way that we all, I think, dream about. Like people want to serve. I think we're born as humans to be of service in some way to the universe. So people do. They want to serve. They want to show up. They want to be on purpose and create some sort of significant impact in the world. And for me, in all these years, these are the steps that it takes to get there. And yes, sometimes, maybe even more times than not, we're not going to be able to do it alone. And I think that goes back to what I said about the core, the universal source, the universal mind. Like we are designed to work together in partnership and to have mentors and to have groups of supporters and people to keep us accountable and to share our visions and also to share our learnings. And that's why I'm really excited, because I'm getting ready to start in a few weeks a new program, and I want to invite you guys to check it out and join it. I want to tell you a little about it, because this to me is the next step, right? This is where we can take all of this information that you've already learned and really put it into practice together. So you have someone who's got your back, you've got the divine guidance like every step of the way, and you have it in a practical way to really implement it onto your work and the work that you're doing and the mission that's in your heart to do in the world, right? Like, how do we put all those pieces together and know that you have someone who will, be very frank, but also have grace and empathy for where you are and give you guidance to get forward where you want to go. And so if you're interested and you're watching already right now, I want to give you guys the opportunity to elevate your business strategy and accelerate your business now. So we're going to utilize a lot of the things we just talked about and go deeper into how you can actually do that. So this is for you if you're watching this and you've hit a revenue or growth plateau in your business and you're like circling, right? And you feel like, I got to just get over this. Somehow I've got to get off this loop. Or if your gut's been telling you that something, and you don't know what, is missing in your work, and you want to be able to clarify what that is. Or if you felt a tug of change of directions, right? But you don't know which is the right path for you. Like, so you have some opportunities, maybe some huge opportunities in front of you, and you feel like you don't want to make a mistake and you want to know that you're going in the best possible direction. This is for you. right? And as I mentioned with Scott, it's always knowing that you have support. It's always knowing that you are moving forward and implementing based on your unique life purpose and your business sweet spot. So this is about taking that to the next level. So if you're interested in joining us, what you'll receive, what we'll be going through, as I said, is we'll have 5 weeks together. And the program will take you through those 5 weeks where we'll have a personalized clarity assessment. So we'll look at kind of where you are now, get a good snapshot of that. You'll get divine guidance from me, the Oracle on Purpose. You'll get transformative processes for mental blocks during our mastermind sessions. Also, you'll get recommended power plan action steps, which we'll talk about more in the program itself. But those were really there just to give you like really, tactile and practical action steps. Like go do this, talk to that person, and we'll have a way for you to map that out. And then, of course, the inspiration and greater confidence to move forward in your business, like moving forward, not just in one next level, but continuing to build and grow in a way that feels organically authentic to your unique life purpose. Really, we're talking about moving from the frustration and of where you are, if you're feeling stuck or, looking at opportunities and not sure which way to go, from that frustration to the flow of tapping into divine guidance and a practical plan to move yourself forward. So like I said, it's just 5 short weeks. We will meet every week, for 90 minutes. So you'll have time with me. You'll have actual practical programs and videos to watch in that process. And at the end of those weeks, the one thing I forgot to mention, we have some bonuses. So one of the things that I teach, and I've been teaching for 25 years now, is a program and a process I call Power Plan. And it is basically a formula for utilizing the law of attraction, which works really well with all the things we were talking about today. So that is actually one of the bonuses that you'll receive in this program. So you'll have lifetime access to this online program. And it's the Master Creators course. And it's called Master Creators 1, Fundamentals for Living Your Unique Life Purpose. And it's based on the Power Plan. That's $19.97. But you will get that included if you join our Elevate program. You'll also get, if you sign up by November 3rd, you will receive a quick action bonus, which is 1 90-minute private session with me. So you and I will speak, which is great because if you haven't done the the training yet for the challenge, then you and I can make sure that you're on the right page and that we've got some of your pieces in place. I will tell you that in short minutes on my regular weekly calls with people live on the Oracle Live TV show, I've had clients with like less than 15 minutes have big shifts happen. So we'll have a full 90 minutes to work together. And that is regularly a $5.97 session. You'll also, if you sign up by 12 a.m. Pacific on November 3rd, you will get a one-on-one session with me as well. Now, I wanted to add another bonus because I love to give things away because I'm kind of a Santa Claus. And I did this because I think that I know some people are watching this, going to watch the replay that didn't do the challenge. And I want to make sure that everybody in the group that starts together, I should probably tell you when, right? It starts mid-November, by the way. So this group that's starting, it's going to start in November. I'm going to get you the link right now. And we're putting that in the comments so people can find it. This is the link to sign up. And so again, if you register by November 3rd at 12 a.m., you will get the bonus talk or bonus session with me. I'm just going to put by November 3rd. There we go. And you'll get the bonus from talking with me. And then also, if you sign up today, this is a special bonus. It's not even on the site, but I'll be watching. I'll be watching. But if you sign up today, I'm going to give you an extra bonus. And this bonus is worth $497, and it's going to be the course. Remember, I told you I was going to tell you how to get the Find Your Business Sweet Spot course for free. And if you sign up to our Elevate program, which is in the link below, by tonight, November 1st, yes, November 1st by midnight Pacific, Okay. So that's 3 a.m. East Coasters, you get a little extra time. By midnight tonight, if you sign up, I will include a coupon code so you can actually get access to the course for Find Your Business Sweet Spot for free. That way, in a couple of weeks, you'll have time to watch the videos, go through the process, and every one of us will be on the same page as we begin our journey. So if you're ready to really take advantage of all of these tools and resources that you've been working on and you've been in the challenge, this is a great opportunity. Now, I forgot to say, so of course, like I said, there are all these bonuses that are going to be coming on with this. But what I really want you to know is myself, I've spent thousands of dollars on all of these pieces before, and you could easily spend $10,000 on another 5-week course. I have created this in a way that I hope is so quick and easy for you guys to do that it's a win-win for everybody. So this course for the 5 weeks, including 5 group sessions, right? So virtual sessions just like this will be in the Zoom room, and all of the access to all the materials if you sign up tonight is only $9.97. So it's a single pay of $9.97. And if you need to, there is also a payment plan of 3 payments of $3.97. Okay. So if you're interested, click on the link and we'll see you guys next week. All right. Have a great one, everybody. If you have any questions and I didn't see them in here and they're out in Facebook land, I will come back through and check them. And if you do have questions and you'd like to find out whether or not this program is a good fit for you, let's see, put in the comments so that I know and I can talk with you. Just put talk to me in the comments. And if you do that, then I'll reach out to you in private message and we'll connect and see if it is a good fit. And if not, then that's fine. But I'll definitely give you guys a few minutes to find out whether or not this is a good fit for where you are in your business and whether or not it's going to be supportive of where you want to go next. All right. That's it for me today. Thanks for being here. For those of you who are watching, those of you watching the replay, thanks for watching. And again, would love to have you join us to elevate your business. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you. Bye now.